Hello, my name is Zach Porter, and I'll be doing a healthcare system comparison between Canada and the United States. Before I get into this, I was amazed how similar these two countries, even though we have completely different healthcare systems, uh, they're similar through how they were formed, how the issues in the healthcare field, the regulations that have been come up within 20 years. A lot of the same issues have been come up between either one, whether it's the United States or Canada that comes up first. I was just amazed. Going on into the history, some of here's an instance of how close it was. In 1847, the AMA, American Medical Association, was formed in the United States. Over in Canada, their Canadian Medical Association was started in 1867. So 20 years later, pretty much the same kind of medical association was created. Another one, 42, Quebec Blue Cross was started, and 47, Blue Cross was started here in the United States. The same kind of time, 1961, they were talking about insurance. 1965, same thing over here in the United States. We were talking about insurance coming up, forming basically just healthcare and how we're going to have or produce healthcare. Moving on in a public health's role, another extremely similar thing. They split it up in Canada almost exactly like how we do. There they have federal, provincial, and then municipal. Here we have the federal, state, and then local. They're worried about the same kind of things. They are almost in the same the worried about what is being contributed into the healthcare field. Categories that some categories that they're worried about: infectious disease, food safety, health and promotion, injury prevention. The same things we do here on the local, state, and federal levels. Moving on into the healthcare workforce, this is the one that I figured would be the farthest off, or one of the farthest off, as there's been a lot of, I guess, slack or a lot of bad talk from Canadians about how long it takes them to actually get or find medical care. Some really interesting facts: approximately 1 in 6 Canadians do not have a regular family doctor. On average, it takes patients 5 months or longer to see a specialist. That's amazing. Here in the United States, a family doctor takes less than 2 weeks, and that's an average over the United States as a whole. In the ER, it's less than 90 minutes. Over in Canada, they only have 79,905 physicians in all of Canada. Yes, they have a lower population, but for 35 million, 79,000. Here in the United States, we have over 970,000 physicians. Yes, we have more people, but that's 900,000 more doctors or physicians. This was really, really surprising because, I've been up in Michigan for a couple of car races, and a lot of Canadians come down, and just talking to them, hearing their anger with the way things are going there, it really put it in like, wow, that it is bad. It's not just them complaining how we complain, oh, we have to pay this and we have to pay that. No, it really takes a long time for them to get health care or to get care for any kind of issues. And that was really surprising. Completely different between us. We don't have those problems at all. Not anywhere near like that. Moving into financing, this was another one that I figured would be completely off, as they have a type of universal health care. The big things that I pulled away from this, the healthcare spending in Canada, 9.2% of their GDP. Here in the United States, it's 17%. $5,292 are spent per citizen in Canada on healthcare. Here in the United States, it's 9,400 or 9,400 spent per person. Another thing, most of their money in healthcare is spent in the private or in the public sector. I'm sorry, with 74% making up the public sector. Here in the United States, it's more the private sector, very, very little over the public, 52% in private and 48% in public. The one thing that all these numbers and everything, yeah, we spent a lot more, $2.6 trillion in 2010, to their, I think it was 15 or it was like 3 billion what was going to rise within 2015. Ours has already gone like quadrupled that. The thing that I see here, though, the biggest thing is the value. Canada, among all of the universal health cares or types, because Canada has a type of universal health care, they're like the second or third highest spending out of all of the universal healthcare countries that use it, and the value of healthcare is not that high. You would figure if you were one of the highest, most spending, you should have the highest value or one of the highest values, and that's just not the case. And that's something Canada is trying to figure out, and I think has been since it's been an issue back in what I've come up with. It looked about like the 80s, the late 80s is when value started to be an issue for the Canadian citizens. Moving on into healthcare law, again, going back into similarities. Canada and the United States, they're pretty much the same. They care about the same kind of regulations. They want to regulate drugs, which ones can be marketed, or, the laws are different. The names are different. When you really go through all of them, it's really surprising how, yeah, okay, they have a different system, but they care about the same things. They have pretty much the same laws, or very similar to the same kind of concepts. Moving on into ethics, it's the same thing. They're worried about the same kind of issues we are. They discuss the same kind of issues. They worry about anti-kickback. It's obviously not called anti-kickback there, but they're worried about in vitro. They're worried about cloning, euthanasia. These are all topics that are in both discussed. They have the same ethics. They're people just like us. Their system is different, but their ethics are pretty much the same. Moving on into mental health issues. This is the one that I've found to be amazingly similar, and actually, I'll come to it, but 20% of Canadians will experience personally a mental illness in their lifetime. 1 in 4 Americans will suffer from mental health issue. So 20%, 25%, very close. Not too big of a crazy number, because we are people, and we live close. We have pretty much the same kind of foods that we eat, and the thing that surprised me the most, although they have like the same kind of programs, the same developmental, the same therapies for all these mental health issues, after researching, I went onto the Canadian Mental Health Association website, their actual website. Among all of the ones that they have for Canada and, based in Canada and started in Canada, formed, for Canadians, they list probably 20 or 30 programs or therapies or classes or whatever from the United States that are based in the United States, formed in the United States, basically for the United States. I thought that was cool in the sense that, like, hey, if we don't have it, which most of the things we have, but also going, it's a completely different healthcare system. And they're still going, hey, we might not have the best, but here, down below us, you might find something that's better. I thought that was really cool, and it was really surprising. Going on to conclusion, going into this, I thought it was going to be, night and day. I knew the issues before. Like I said, I've talked to a lot of Canadians and just kind of like picked their brain. The amazing thing was how similar both these healthcare systems were. I can conclude that yes, two countries will form pretty much out of the same, but this system is different, and it's a lot different. Their national insurance single payer system, basically everyone pays a tax, then the government takes care of all of the expenses, medical expenses that you incurred or everyone has incurred. That is way different than here. And I figured their laws, their regulations, their what they care about would be different, much different, and it's really not. It's surprising how similar, and even within, like I said, years, things are getting passed, or discussions are being made. The the big thing I'm pulling later on in the history, especially with the United States, with the Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, I think we are moving in the right direction. And after doing this comparison, Canada's universal healthcare system does not have enough beneficial points. Actually, I rather see it being a little worse than what it was before we moved into Obamacare. But Obamacare it's based off of universal healthcare. It's kind of formed off of the same ideas, and I think we're better off than Canada. I think we still are headed towards universal healthcare, but I do not think the national insurance, the type that the universal healthcare Canada has, I don't think that's the right one for us. They're still trying to fix their problems that they have with wait times and just the value of healthcare that they get. Like I said, I'm utterly amazed how similar the formation, the government, everything that they care about and how we care about and how we've raised our system to be. Theirs is pretty similar, even though it's a completely different payment and type of system. Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks.